Hey everybody, I'm Razor. Welcome to the channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. A couple of weeks ago, somebody in one of the Premiere chats asked me about my FL Studio template and how I go about mixing drums. I thought that was quite interesting and something I'd not covered before, so I thought I'd turn it into a video. And further to that, I thought I'd also make a little mini-series, this will be part one of that, of how to make drill from scratch for beginners. But don't worry if you're a seasoned vet, there's always things to learn and pick up from videos like this, so stick around. What I'm going to do in this video is go through my standard drill template, and don't worry, it only uses stock plugins so anyone can use it. I'm going to go through how I've set it up and why I've set it up that way. And what I'll do after that is drag a sample in and show you how we can use it in a beat, and I can show you things that I can't show you with just the template alone, such as how I've sidechained the kick and 808. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description so you can pick up the template for yourself after the video. It's completely free, and the drum sounds that are used in the template will be in the download so you can have those for free as well. Obviously you can swap out the drum sounds for any of your own at any point and the template will still work well. I just thought it'd be good to have some sounds in there to start with so you can see how it works straight off the bat. If you're new around here and not subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the little bell next to it. It really helps me out. You won't miss any future uploads, especially if you're interested in the mini drill series I talked about earlier. So all that out of the way, let's have a look at this template. So first off, when you load the template, you'll see that it comes with some sounds and patterns preloaded. These are basically placeholders that illustrate how the template works and can be swapped out for your own sounds at any point. All of the sounds are routed to their own channels. As you can see the way I've got it set up here, the first 9 channels are all drums, with those 9 channels being routed to the 10th channel as the drum bus. After that I then got 6 slots allocated for the melody, and they're 11 through 16, and those 6 are routed to channel 17 as the melody bus. I then got channel 18 set for FX, such as risers, etc, and 19 for my tag. This is just how I've got it set up as standard, but obviously it's easy to change it. I find that 6 slots is probably enough for the melody, but if you want to add more you can do so like this. Highlight a currently unrouted channel, such as 20 in this case, and with it highlighted go over to the melody bus, right click on the little green arrow and choose route to this track only. If you then want to move it so it's next to the other melody channels, you can hold down the Alt key and press the left arrow and it will move it along. You can use this same method to add extra channels to the drum bus if you want as well. Okay, as far as effects goes, on the main counter snare, I've got this EQ. It's taking out most of the lows and raising the highs ever so slightly. And after that I've got this fruity compressor with the settings like this, just to help it cut through the mix a little bit easier. I don't usually have anything on the second counter snare as it's more of an accent and only plays sporadically, and I often have it panning left to right in the channel itself. And for the snare I've got this EQ, taking out some of the lows. It also raises some of the low mids and high mids ever so slightly. I've also added a fruity compressor to this as well, with these settings applied, again to help it cut through the mix. And for the perk I've got nothing on there as standard because it depends what kind of perk you're going to use, if you want delays, reverbs, etc on there, so I leave it without effects as standard so we can add them later. For the main counter snare or hi-hat, I have it turned down a little bit as it can sound really harsh, especially on smaller speakers, but again, depending on what sound you're using, you're going to want to play with the levels here. Everything in this template is basically a starting point and you're going to tweak and play with it each project depending on the sounds you use, the style you want, etc. For that second counter snare, because it's panning left and right and is more of an accent, I've lowered it even more as I want it to sit further back in the mix than the other counter snare. For the 808, I've got a couple of EQs on there. One just literally rolls off the low end at around 40 dB. This can just help with stopping your 808 to sound muddy, as the human ear can't really hear the frequencies below that anyway. The second EQ does something a bit different and is how I sidechain my kick and 808 together. You'll probably notice that band 2 is in a funny place and I'll explain why now. So the first thing, there's a fruity peak controller added to the kick, as well as an EQ. The EQ on the kick is there mainly to see what frequencies the kick is playing at the most. So as I play it I can see from the heat map it's around the late 40s, early 50s range that the kick is playing at. So what I need to do is go back to the EQ for the 808, move band 2 to that same range, and then on the right hand side of that EQ, where the sliders for the bands are, right click on the one for 2 and click on link to controller. From there click on the drop down underneath internal controller and choose the peak control peak plus LFO option. Then in the mapping formula section, click on the little arrow that points to the right next to input and choose inverted from the pop-up and manually change the 1 to 0.5 like this. Then press enter and click accept. The 808 is now sidechained to the kick and will dip every time the kick plays. If you want to play with the amount of sidechaining, just go back into the peak controller in the kick and adjust the volume knob until you're happy with the amount of ducking. If you want to see a visual representation of this, you can go into that EQ on the 808 while the kick is playing and you will see it actually duck. Just a quick note of how I mix my kicks. So the main volume is turned down to 45%, and the little spanner tool, I've got the other volume turned up to 140%. The shift is turned up to 0.01. And if you go back into the main section, the pre-computed effects, the boost is turned up ever so slightly to around 3%. This really makes the kick hit hard. Sometimes it's too hard. You might want to go back and lower it a little bit in the mixer, but I like to have it hitting hard as standard. You can always take it down from there. Okay, that's the basics of the template. I'm going to find a sample now and drag it in and show you how it works as part of a beat. I decided to go with this one from my NY Drill Cuts Volume 1 sample pack. It's available on my website razorshop.com. I did a full breakdown of the sample pack in this video here if you want to check it out. It's already timed up, so it's good to go. First thing I'm going to do is just chop off the end so it loops nicely, and then we can start. So as standard, I've got 3 channels: mellow, drums and 808. Mellow is where I create the melody normally, but as we're using a sample, we won't use it in this case. Drums are where the main drums sit, and 808 is for the 808. I often add the kick into the 808 as well, as I find it's easier to find where the 808 is hitting and where I want to add the kicks if they're in the same channel. But to start with, the kick is actually in the drums channel. Again, that's personal preference, you can move it or keep it where it is. So you can see I've just added the drums and 808 channels into the playlist, leaving the first 8 bars just to sample as an intro. Next thing I want to do is add the sample to its own channel, so I've routed it to channel 11, as that's the first one that's assigned to the melody bus. After that, I've added an EQ and taken out some of the low end, just so that it doesn't clash with the 808 when I add it. Okay, so now on to the 808. As the sample's in D sharp minor, I'm 99% sure that if I put down the first note as D sharp 5, it'll sound nice. I went back and tweaked that EQ on the sample just a little bit more, took out a little bit more lower end as I still thought it was clashing with the 808 a little bit. But other than that, happy with that as a start. We can start to build the 808s from there. I've done what I said I was going to do and moved the kick to the 808 channel. This is really simple to do. Just go into the drums with the kick in it, highlight that channel, press Ctrl X or Command X if you're on Apple, go into the 808 pattern, highlight the kick and press Ctrl V or Command V, and it will paste it in. Then if you've got ghost notes enabled, once they're in the same pattern, you'll be able to see where the 808 is hitting when you're in the kick channel, and vice versa. In this case, there's way too many kicks for what I want, so I've taken them all out except for the ones that hit at the start of the first and fifth bars. Right, back to that 808 pattern. As that D sharp sounds good at the start of the first bar, chances are it probably sound good at the start of the fifth bar as well, so I've placed one there. Okay, so I'm now going to get back onto that pattern, and I'm going to start by placing notes that are in key to see how they sound and go from there. This often takes quite a while, little tweaks here and there until I'm happy with it, but it's basically just messing around until I come up with something that I think works.
Several days later.
What I've done here is take all the slide notes because they're a little bit too high. I've selected them all and then just lowered the velocity all at once by holding down the Alt key and scrolling down the middle mouse button. The final thing that I did was add more kicks that hit where the 808s did, not on every single one but where I thought they sounded nice. And that's pretty much it for this one. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the template, the beat and the process as a whole. I'll put a link in the description for the template and for the FLP as well, so you can download it for yourself and replicate what we did here. If you like that sample, it's part of my NY Drill Cuts Volume 1 pack. I'll leave a link in the description for that as well. It's full of dark orchestral sounding drill loops, so if you like making NY drill like Pop Smoke kind of style, I think you'll really like it. If you're new around here and not subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the bell next to it. It really helps support me and the channel, and it means that you won't miss out on the next part of this drill series or any of the future uploads or freebies like the FLP and template today. I'll leave some more videos from the channel here and here for you to check out, but other than that, I've been Razor. Stay safe, be productive, and I'll catch you on the next one.